That's how you develop brand. It's something that you're going to read in a book. It's something that you have to understand when you're connecting with your audiences. Welcome to episode 2 of Zantastic. This is the podcast that talks about how you find out how you're fantastic and share it with the world. If you watched episode 1 and it inspired you in any way to share your knowledge, expertise, experience, and connect more with the world through your content, I am so happy. That is my goal. My goal here is to help you find ways to build audience. And as we are rolling into 2025, the landscape of online publishing is certainly changing. It's not the way it was 20 years ago, where you could just put up a website, have some decent SEO, and audiences would easily find you. Google has changed their search algorithm dramatically. The latest helpful content update, as they are calling it, has changed the way we receive results as consumers, and it changes the way your sites are showing up in search results. When I do a search, I am greeted with AI answers and then results from discussion boards such as Reddit and Quora, rather than the sites of people who are experts in their field. And yet, Google is telling us that we should focus on experience, expertise, authority, and trust. What do content creators do when we are faced with these kinds of challenges? It requires a mindset shift. It requires you to think differently about how you present yourself, your information, your content to the world. You have to shift away from thinking about long tail keywords or trying to rank on new things, maybe expanding the content that you are writing into different niches. You have to think about yourself differently. You have to think about yourself as a brand. You see, if you go into your search console and you look at how information is showing up, brand searches are still working. If someone searches for Kathy's aunt, they're going to find my sites, or maybe they'll find my social media. They're going to find me. If they're searching for WordPress security or something I might have written about leadership, or even what I've been writing lately about my health journey, they are likely not going to find my content. The reason for that is that there's so much competition and you're pushed further and further down from that page 1 ranking. It can be very disheartening, especially if you've built a blog or maybe you've built a social media channel in a certain niche and it's worked for you in the past. The temptation is to go back to what has worked before and just lean in harder on that. But we have to adapt to the environment in which we live. And if you're publishing online, that means you have to adapt to the algorithms that show your content to your audience. You have to have a different strategy altogether. Now, fundamental to that strategy is understanding yourself, understanding who you are, understanding what your brand is and how other people see you. Brand can be such a confusing term. If you ask people about brand, they often think about their logo or the colors that they've chosen or even the fonts that they're using in all of their marketing materials. But brand goes way beyond that. You can have a very simple logo. You can have very simple colors. It could be just black, white, and another color. You can have very simple structures to support your brand, but the overall brand itself is something completely different. Let's think about Nike. It is a very recognizable brand in the sports world as well as in everyday life worldwide. But what is Nike? When you think about Nike, what do you think of? You might think about their logo, which is quite iconic. You might even think about a pair of shoes that you've worn in the past. You might think about the story of Michael Jordan and how Air Jordans came to be and how he became well known as a representative of Nike. But when you really get down to it, Nike is that commitment that was made to a group of people. It was a commitment made to a community. It was a commitment made really to runners. And the iconic phrase of just do it, which applies to so many different things. There is a certain vibe that goes along with brand. There is a certain feeling that goes along with brand. As with anything that you create, after a while, the brand doesn't belong to the company. The brand belongs to the people who buy the product, people who are adherents to the philosophy behind the brand. Brand becomes a movement. Brand becomes a community. Brand becomes a belief gestalt. It becomes a group of ideas and ideals that everyone owns. You own Nike because if you have ever used Nike products, or if you feel any kind of alignment to this philosophy behind the brand, you own that view of the brand. Just like with any art that you create, once you put it out into the world, whether it's a book, a video, a blog post, once you put it out into the world, it doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to the people who look at the painting that has been created, the people who read the book. That experience becomes theirs. But we have to be intentional about what it is we're creating when we think about brand. We have to be intentional with what it is that we are aligning with. What belief systems are we aligning with? And how do we support the people who are also aligned with that belief system? It is not something that you can choose off of various logos. It is not something chosen by a color, although colors can support a brand. But a brand is an idea. And if you are creating content right now, it is so important for you to understand what your brand is and understand the brand DNA that you are putting forth into the world. Now, myself, I am going through a journey of exploration of my own brand, and I have many people who look at me and say, oh, well, there's Kathy, she's a security expert, because many of the videos I've created in the past are all security aligned. Many people see me as a WordPress expert. I have been in the WordPress community for quite some years, and I've been using WordPress for 20 years. Other people think of me as a technology expert. Other people think of me as a marketer. We can understand the aspirations, the problems of the people that you serve. Brand starts to coalesce. Now with Nike, they understood runners. They understood that runners are out there running no matter what. If it's raining outside, you'll see somebody, they just got the rain gear on and they're out running. That is Nike's target market. That idea and commitment to running is part of their DNA. Of course, there's the basketball thing and the sports thing, but it started out with a commitment to those people. When you are addressing brand, the first thing you must understand is that brand is held in the minds of the people that find you. You have to do your market research. I've seen a number of companies go through rebrands that seem all great on paper. It seems great when you're looking at new colors and logos and fonts and even maybe a new name. But if no one is asking customers, why are you aligned with the brand, the old brand, before you go through the rebranding strategy? Why are you aligned? Why did you buy this product? What is it that you like about it? Why do you keep renewing? Why do you keep buying? When you ask those types of questions and you can understand the belief systems of the people who are aligned with your brand, it's going to make all the difference. You've seen a number of rebrands, I'm sure, that just seem like they are coming in out of left field. They aren't aligned with the previous brand. And when you do that, then you have problems. A rebrand is not something that changes direction completely. It must be something that is an extension, an evolution of the previous brand. It has to harken back to the same beliefs, the same gestalt, the same system of understanding that was there before. Otherwise, you just alienate. When you start going off into left field and doing things that are so different, it can alienate people. It's one of the reasons I asked the question on my YouTube channel, where most people think of me as the security lady. What if I was to do something different? And I got varying answers. But ultimately, I had to go back to my inner compass. I had to really take a step back and understand who I am, my purpose in the world, and how that aligns with the audiences that I've collected. And I have multiple different niches that I address, and I had to go back to the core. Why are these people in my life? I actually set up a meeting with someone that I've known for a long time, has seen me working for a long time, and what is it that I do best, and how can I serve the people that you know in our industry? How can I serve them? And that's when we got back to who I really am, and everything just aligned. And I did this actually after I recorded that first episode about clicking publish. I had a conversation that basically just solidified where I'm going. That episode was coming from my heart. It was coming from who I am. It was aligned with my intent, my purpose, and my authenticity. It was vulnerable too. I mean, I basically told you how many blog posts in my drafts that I haven't published, and podcasts recorded on my phone that I haven't published. It was an extremely authentic conversation that I had. And the conversation I had subsequently with my friend just solidified that yes, I can be authentic with myself and who I really am and where I feel purpose, and have a conversation with many people. So it became my brand. It became who I am. That conversation also kind of underscored some of the problems people are having with the helpful content update. Now, I have always said blogging is incredibly important, because when you have a blog, first of all, search engines typically in the past have loved blogs. It's a place for you to share expertise, knowledge, and have this running tally of where you are as a business, as a person, to really put yourself out there and to be a thought leader, showing your expertise and experience in a very easily digestible way. With the changes with the search engine algorithms, though, we have to shift. We have to change. We have to look at where people are and where people are consuming content. Now, for Thanksgiving, I made a turkey. And instead of going to Google and going through search results in order to find, how do you roast a turkey? Because I can never remember. I went to AI and I said, tell me how to roast a turkey. And I got very specific instructions right away. I got my problem answered quickly, and it turned out to be a halfway decent AI-inspired turkey. When people are looking for quick answers for something that's very factual, they aren't going to look for experience and expertise. They aren't going to look for your story of how you got your recipe from grandma back in the day. They are going to look for very specific instructions. How do I do this? Now, another thing I had to do recently is my key fob for my car. The battery died. I had a spare battery at home, but I just couldn't remember. I knew I had problems the last time I replaced one, so I wanted to make sure I did it right. I wanted precise instructions on how to do it quickly and easily, and I went to YouTube because I knew somebody would show me a video on how to do it. Here's something. Google, they also own YouTube, but the search results there are much more usable. You get exactly what you're looking for. You don't get Reddit answers where you have to comb through a discussion in order to figure out an answer. You don't have to, go through AI to try to figure out what's going on. You are shown very clearly, very succinctly, the best videos that are going to show you what to do. As content creators, we have to notice this. We have to notice what has changed out there in the environment, and we have to adapt to that change. Google search results are problematic right now. AI is problematic. Our content is being used to inform AI, but we can never be replaced in terms of who we really are with authenticity. When you can put out content that people remember, when you can put out content that connects on a human level, your brand starts to evolve. Your authentic brand starts to evolve when you're attuned to your purpose. You are attuned to who you really are, and you start putting out that kind of information. You start putting out the stories of when you failed, or when you've been vulnerable, or when you've made a mistake and you've rectified it. I've had plenty of those experiences, and I know you have as well. I've told some of them, but I haven't told them all. But maybe it's time that I should. Maybe it's time that I inject more humanity in the content that I'm creating. I still want to be of service. I still want to help people solve problems. But rather than solving the key fob problem or how to roast a turkey, I want to solve problems of the spirit, problems of authenticity, problems where people stop themselves, where you start overthinking about who you really are and start judging yourself. You start trying to make everything more perfect, and you stop yourself in the process. We all do it. If we didn't do it, YouTube would have a channel for everyone and we'd all be sharing our expertise. But there's something in you that stops you from sharing your expertise, sharing your experiences, and connecting with the audiences who will help you create your brand. Really, what we need to start developing is radical self-confidence. Self-confidence in the face of our enemies. And the enemies are up here. The thoughts that stop you, the thoughts that make you think everything has to be perfect, the thoughts that compare you to other people in your niche or even other people that you aspire to be. You block yourself when you don't go into your authentic power. And we all have it. We all have that authentic voice within us, that authentic purpose that we were put on this earth to live out and to share. But we stop ourselves. We end up being so many times our own worst enemy. We have to go where the energy is, and the energy is within each and every one of us. And we are here to be of service, to give freely of our expertise and our experiences so that it may uplift someone else out there. I know you have it in you. I know you have that voice that tells you that someone out there needs what you have. There are so many ways that you can be of service. And I think one thing that's happening in 2025 is that instead of us diving into a niche and saying, oh, well, I'm going to be the security lady, or I'm going to be the marketing lady. Instead, flip the script. Flip it so that I am going to show up as me. I'm going to show up as the brand of Kathy Zant. To find out where the energy is, you have to start putting things out there. And it doesn't, that the whole thing of like, oh, well, this isn't in my niche. I'm not going to put this out there because it'll screw up the algorithm. It'll screw up how I'm showing up. My audience doesn't want to hear these types of things. It's just another thought that's stopping you. Because here's the thing. You might think, well, I'm the security lady. You might think that that's your niche and that's the thing that you should be doing and I should stick to my niche. But what if your real purpose is something completely different? Now, one thing I haven't talked a lot about too much is being a stroke caregiver. 3 years ago, my husband had a stroke and I'm a caregiver. And I've got another family member who's been going through a lot and another family member who is caring for that person. And I have now a purpose of coaching the caregiver in that situation to be a better caregiver because they're struggling like I did 3 years ago. And now I know that I can be of service in that place. But I would never know that if I said, oh, well, I can't do that because that's not my niche. That's not who I am. I am the security lady, and that's my brand. The evolution of me as a brand has to go into authenticity. And I would argue that it is the same for you. You have so many things to offer the world, so much knowledge and expertise. But if you don't follow all of the things that are coming up for you, all of the ways that you can be of service, whether it's in your niche or not, you might be missing out on greater opportunities. You see, spirit, I'm a spiritual person. Spirit, our higher selves are always putting opportunities in front of us. And it's up to us to respond to those opportunities, to see them as opportunities, to actually read the landscape, read the trends, read our audiences, and connect with them on an empathetic level so that we know where our experience can be of service. That's what I'm doing here right now. After a few conversations, I know that I have the experiences that can help other people find and share their voice. The only way you can do it, though, is to go out there and publish. Now, I want to just tell you, those 40 blog posts that were on my WP admin, I've gone through every single one of them and either deleted it or published it. It's done. I no longer have a backlog. It was the death of me squirreling things away. It was the death of me storing things for a later date. It was the death of this clutter of information and ideas and observations. I think this is the key. This is the way. If you have been hit from the helpful content update and your blog is languishing in search results and traffic has dropped to nothing, this is the way. The way is to find your brand, and the brand is going to be you. It's going to be experience. It's going to be expertise. It is going to be that authenticity that is so important because that is how you develop trust. Trust is not something that you can, go buy at the store. It's something you have to invest in with every piece of content that you create, every single story that you create, every single piece of research that you do. Everything that you publish supports that brand of you. And guess what? When you make those kinds of connections, it has a way of expanding. I'm sure you watch YouTube videos and there are some large channels of people who publish every single day. And what tends to develop is a community around those people, the community of people who are connecting with each other. They recognize the same people showing up to a live stream time after time. They make connections with each other, but it's all around your brand. That is brand. That community of people with a shared vision, shared aspirations, shared goals, and shared pains, authentically connecting with each other. That's how you develop brand. It's not necessarily something that you're going to read in a book. It's something that you have to understand when you're connecting with your audiences. It's something that you can do. You have an audience. You have friends. You have family. You start with them. If you haven't published anything yet, you can start where you are. And you start to build your voice, your authenticity. You start building who you really are. And after a while, brand starts to evolve. You make a name for yourself. Somebody called me a WordPress A-lister. Like, if I knew I had an A-lister card, I'm not sure if I'd play it in WordPress, but hey, those are my people. You are my people. If this content has been helpful and inspirational to you, I would love a subscribe here. I'm still going to do security videos, but I am also going to lean into some of this content as well because I think it's really important. It's not just important to all of us who are content creators. It's important to everyone. It's important to you if you are not a content creator and you just have no interest whatsoever. It's important for you to understand how people connect, how people buy, the psychology behind the brand. I'm going to dive deeper into that in future episodes, and we will see you then.